Guys, guess what? It's time for Bollox Talks and Tangents. You know what that means, Lenny? That means you got to stop writing and get involved in this show. Pull that microphone closer to you, sir.
I am ready.
No, you're not ready.
You can't. My voice carries, baby. He can hear me in there. I'm telling you.
Do that. Well, your voice carries because he's got a headset on in there.
Run right through the glass.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Well,
my partner's
not around me.
Writing away. Blake's giving us a countdown. Hey, guys, appreciate you tuning in. If you would, make sure you hit that share button. Welcome into Bollox Talks and Tangents. Real exciting show today.
We almost went black for a bit.
History of sodas and bad medicine. Bad medicine. The history of some of the things, the crazy stuff we thought worked in many, many centuries of where it's at. But we just got so much exciting stuff. First thing we got to do is we actually have to talk about our sponsors, our amazing sponsors, Coquina Coast Realty. If you're looking to sell, you're looking to buy, commercial or residential, give us a call at 904-669-7901. Ask for Troy. He'll probably answer. All right. Best bar on the row, and that's Meehan's. Meehan's is one of your regular watering holes.
It is.
I'm telling you right now, they got 3 bars in one. They got Johnny's Oyster Bar upstairs. They got the pub downstairs and the backyard. Live music, inside and out. Just wonderful people always working there at Meehan's. Give them a shout and tell them you got there because of Bollox.
Please.
All right. River and Fort, you said you stopped in there last week?
Was there on Sunday. Spent a nice afternoon up on the 3rd floor. Best view in town. Got to trim some trees now. They're getting in the way.
Oh.
Those trees are growing tall.
Oh, we're going to have to work on that.
Yeah.
All right.
But beautiful.
I got one of those little things that does that. Does that
we're
thing kind of work?
I think, with a bucket truck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. At River and Fort, they have amazing food. They have a great bourbon selection over there. We drink a lot of bourbon and whiskeys. Matter of fact, leading into our next sponsor, today we're drinking cinnamon whiskey from Citygate, one of our great sponsors on Sponsor Row. They have some great tastings there. If you haven't been to Citygate, some of you know about the St. Augustine Distillery. This is the little sister or little brother, but they have some of the most amazing flavors over there.
Good flavors.
Today is one of them. The cinnamon whiskey, excellent drink. Give them a try. Go over, check out the distillery. Voted best tasting tour in the United States. And
you don't need Fireball. Stay local.
Yeah.
Keep your business local. You don't need any of that fancy Fireball stuff. This is it.
Excellent.
This is it.
It's not.
It's like drinking Big Red gum.
Like that rot gut that you're talking about.
No.
All right. Also on Sponsor Row, staying on Sponsor Row, St. Augustine Pirate Museum. Cindy Stabley over there does an amazing job. She's one of the leaders in the Attraction Association here in town, always helping out in the community. Appreciate what they do. They also have the Colonial Quarter and get well soon to Captain Mayhem.
Oh, right. Under the weather?
Had a little bout. He's doing good. Get well soon. All right, Abare, Kresge and Associates, best CPA in town. They take care of me. I have a lot of different stuff going on. At any given time. I think I'm under 10 jobs now, but they make sure
slowing down.
Make sure I know I'm getting slacker. They make sure I stay in good graces with that company that has initials. So, all right, Chesire Custom and Collisions. You have a fender bender. I have to read it.
I'm with you
every single time.
I know.
If you have a fender bender, you want a new paint job. I'm the kind of guy who kind of keeps a car for a long time. I'm not a guy who trades in a car every 3 years or something like that.
Those leases suck you in, and you never get equity.
Never been a lease guy
unless it's pre-tax dollars.
These guys will get you. These guys you get you back in shape, and just quality service all the way through. All right, we already talked a little bit about the whiskey, but just cheers, sir. Cheers,
Don. Absolutely.
All right. Word origins is where we start usually.
Okay, why not?
I guess I'm going to go first because you're going to give us a lead-in to our first.
My second one for sure, absolutely.
All right. So when I was doing this day in history this morning for the Stoidum.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if you caught the Stoidum. I know you catch it on Wednesday to benefit.
No, but I do keep on this day in history.
All right. So on this day in history, the Globe Theater burnt down in London. It was a theater that basically was where Shakespeare
It was his theater. Yeah.
released most of his playwrights. So during the article, it said that he basically created over 1,000 phrases or words just from his writings. So I glanced at it and just took 2.
Okay.
I was like, okay, this is interesting enough. I'm glancing at it. I'm just going to take 2, and these are going to be my word origins today. And if you're wondering what the Globe Theater was, it was about a 2,000 seat theater. It had a smaller indoor theater for in the winter, and most of Shakespeare's introductions of his plays came from the Globe, or it was performed at the Globe.
It was Richard II, Richard III. It was a cannon that set it on fire.
No, it wasn't during a play.
Okay, but I thought I had read in This Day in History that it was a cannon that set the building on fire during a performance. He was special effecting even then.
They did do that, but I think it was no one was in the theater when it actually caught on fire. Is the way I read it.
Okay,
because I looked for deaths that happened and everybody seemed to get out okay.
Right.
So it
was a wooden building, that was for sure.
It might have been an ember that came from the cannon or something like that, but I felt like what I read today, it didn't have any of that. But to the Globe, I say good riddance.
Okay, because he wrote that in.
Shakespeare is the first person to use the term good riddance. The term riddance was used, but it's the first time those 2 words were put together in writing, and it was in a 1609 play. The Globe burnt down in 1613, but it was in a 1609 play, and it's Blake, help me with the name. It's Cressida.
Troilus and Cressida.
Cressida, yeah, Cressida. And it was in that play, and that's the first time good riddance was ever used. And it's basically like, just get the hell out of here, is what it means now. Just, okay, go away.
Henry VIII.
And be good. Was during Henry VIII?
Yeah, cannon shot during a performance of Henry VIII.
Okay, but everybody got out okay.
Yeah, well, as best we know, yes. We're going on a happy note. They survived.
It didn't say anything about deaths.
No.
Because, my morbid ass always goes, I wonder how many people died. Am I the only one that does that?
I did talk for a long time to myself about keeping, a ferry turns over in Tanzania and 800 people die, and a plane. If I at one point in time I was just trying to keep track of catastrophes to see how many people actually were killed on an ongoing basis on these things, and it just became overwhelming. Yeah. Too many people are just you lose your mind.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I'm drawn to these things, but I'm drawn to historic tragedies that I don't know anything about.
Okay, well, sounds like more topics.
Yeah, it creates me learning and of things. It's easy to learn about presidents. It's easy to learn about certain things in history, but when you find something, you're like, holy crap, how did I not know that?
Right.
And that's how my movie ended up happening. I knew about Dr. Haling, but I didn't know about the tragedy that took place leading up to Dr. Haling becoming the leader, civil rights leader that he was.
Absolutely brutal.
Brutal event.
Inhumane. It was just
how
horrible.
I learned that story, I was selling one of the gentleman's house that had recently passed away that I had known for 30 years. I didn't know the story. And I felt like, what a horrible human being I was. How did I not know the story? But it was something he never talked about.
Right. It's like a lot of people aren't going to necessarily bring that. It was horrific for a lot of people when they were involved in it at the time. And it's like when parents or fathers come back from war and they just won't talk about it because it's, how do you relate that to somebody? What happened to Dr. Haling? What happened to people that were just, treated so inhumanely during the civil rights era? It's hard for them. I mean, it can be cathartic for some people, but it's difficult to talk about, I would presume, and it's just, but it's certainly so necessary to learn.
Yeah. So All right. So what's your first word?
My
origin?
first one is leave no stone unturned. We use that from time to time when we're on a quest. We're looking for something. Leave no stone unturned.
Yes.
And it apparently came into common usage somewhere in the 1500s, but it goes back to a Greek general who was in the middle of a battle, and he had just got a big treasure, which he apparently hid in his tent. Poor guy didn't make it out of the battle, so he died. They couldn't find the treasure. So they went to the Oracle of Delphi,
Okay.
who said, when you look, leave no stone unturned. And they had to, turn over all the stones, presumably. She was ostensibly telling them that the treasure might have been under a rock someplace in his tent or wherever it was.
She had no idea.
Well, she got away with murder. Well, maybe not literally
If she
murder,
did,
but
she would have told them. And
I was thinking, right.
I'll go find it myself.
Right, and then retire.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what was it, Miss Cleo or whatever it was? How did she not see the bankruptcy coming?
Right.
So,
more importantly, why didn't she just pick out 6 winning lottery numbers if she was that good?
Yeah.
That's always my question.
Yeah. So, by the way, I think I'm winning tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's my time.
That's fine, because that's tomorrow's Friday. Good. Save the Powerball for me for Saturday.
Yeah,
and
it's all
we're in
yours.
business.
It's all yours. You're
That's
good.
it. And I share. I do.
Yeah.
I absolutely share.
I'm a giver.
I've got a list of mortgages to pay off, student loans to pay off, car bills to
Student
pay
loans?
off. Not mine.
Oh, okay.
Not mine. Oh no. I'll make people weak in the knees when I tell them I got an Ivy League education for $25,000 total out the door.
There you go.
4 years in and out.
Ivy League.
Yep.
Where at?
Cornell.
Cornell.
Yep. I mean, I went to the New York State School of Industrial and Labor Relations.
All right. So we're going word origins.
Okay. What do you got?
Ivy League.
Oh, okay.
Okay. How did it get its name?
Oh, is that damn lack of gardening primarily?
No. It's
right.
not it at all.
Bummer.
There was only 4 teams in it.
Okay.
So Roman numeral.
Oh, okay.
So the original
So
Ivy
it was
League.
Harvard, Yale. I'll go with Princeton. Dartmouth?
Yeah. I think it was Dartmouth.
Yeah.
I think it was Dartmouth. So I don't think it was Penn.
And Cornell, no, and Cornell was founded in like 1864, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Came along much later during the Civil War.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So but that's where it came from. But
Okay.
They only had four teams, and I always thought it had to do with the
The plant?
like the Cubs, like
Yeah.
the Cubs Wrigley Field,
Yeah.
the ivy on the, and a lot of them have it, but
Right.
it came from only having 4 teams.
So the Ivy Towers are just, a bastardization of Ivy.
They just
right.
kind of sprung into that.
Okay.
Sprung into that.
All
So,
right. I like that. Oh, see?
right.
Learning something every day here at Bollox Talks and Tangents.
And sometimes when we start going down these different roads and stuff, I feel like I'm on a wild goose chase.
Okay, go ahead, mother.
Wild goose chase. You know what a wild goose chase is, right?
I've been on a few myself.
You've been on a few wild goose chases.
I have.
All right. I had no idea. It was the Shakespeare who made it popular.
That William.
And he did it in this play you might have heard of, Romeo and Juliet.
I know a little bit about
Right.
the Montagues and the Capulets.
And so, first time it was ever in written form was in Romeo and Juliet. But it came from an actual horse race called the Wild Goose Chase.
Really?
And
Okay.
they would run in a V formation, and the lead horse was here. And they would quickly be scurrying around and stuff like that. And it quickly became the Wild Goose Chase was the name of the horse race in the 1500s, the 16th century. But the first time it was ever in written form was in Romeo and Juliet.
I think we should just decide that, for a couple of weeks, we're just going to do Shakespeare.
We could.
things.
I'm telling you right now.
It's fascinating how much stuff comes from Shakespeare.
I literally went like this, put my finger down on the paper, and came up with those 2.
Yeah. It's he is credited for so many, whether they're cliches, whether they're axioms, tons of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I learned this morning when I was reading about the globe is I didn't realize how many different times the theaters got closed down for the plague.
Oh, well,
And his sonnets that he wrote, because he was evidently a very good businessman. Like, he was a good promoter of his own plays, and his troupe. I can't think of King something or another. It was
they weren't the Avenettes.
they were not. They were not. But he was a very good businessman. But when they had to close down the theater, he didn't have revenue. So he started writing the sonnets to supplement his revenue. So during the plague, when the theaters kept closing down, that's when he wrote all his sonnets. And I didn't realize that until this morning.
So basically, during COVID, we should have been writing sonnets.
That's what. I'm hickory dickory. No,
there once was a man from Nantucket.
Yeah.
All right, that'll work. No,
what was it? Tippecanoe and
Tyler too.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, what's your last one?
Okay, it is. We've heard the expression, "Oh, you're blowing smoke up my ass."
Yeah,
which is interesting because when I looked it up, there was arse, A-R-S-E.
Yeah,
but so it's the term "blowing smoke up your ass" is. Somebody being insincere to you, they're just fluffing you up. They're
BSing.
Yeah, pretty much. They're blowing smoke up your ass. It's insincerity. It came about in the 1700s, but it segues nicely into our medical topics because I was doing that. There was a tobacco smoke enema. Which was big doings, and apparently this was a big deal for a while, and it was thought to. I think cholera, tobacco smoke enemas to cure cholera, but also it was to revive people who had drowned to bring them back from the dead. And there was a little bit of a bounty.
They used
hose up your butt, a bellows, exactly, and they would use tobacco smoke for that, and they would try to resuscitate you that way. To the point that where now it's current, it's to have AEDs in places.
There's a Three Stooges skit similar to this.
Yeah. Along the Thames, because this was supposed to be, an effort to save drowning victims, they would have these bellows and hoses, and I would presume tobacco and some flame to light them along the river Thames in England. Yeah. So they would use that to literally blow smoke up people's ass and revive them. Exactly. People. Yep.
Wow.
And I don't know that it worked all that well when you come right down to it. But in the 1870s, it was big doings. So, yeah.
All right. So we're gonna. You said
we're in medical, baby.
With medical.
Well, we're here.
We'll start with medical, and we're gonna move forward. A lot of the stuff that I read was just so far out there, and some of the things it's just like, really, come on, guys. There were some diet plans and some of those things that just were completely ridiculous. But the one I found interesting was ketchup.
Okay.
So ketchup started, it was more of a mushroom before it was a tomato thing.
Yeah.
But ketchup was created for digestive problems in the early 1800s, late 1700s, early 1800s. And it was a medical before it was ever a condiment. And then when it became more of a tomato base, it later became a condiment. And we're talking 100 years later.
Right.
But for almost 80 to 100 years, that's what ketchup was. If you got ketchup, it was because your stomach.
And what kind of mushrooms did they use, one may wonder?
That could be anything. And there's some on our list that really...
it's in vogue now, especially if you're in Oregon.
Did you know ketchup was originally
I know there's mushroom ketchups. I didn't know that it was a medicinal product or it started out that way.
Yeah.
Now it's just a sweet and vinegary little wonder for French fries, among other things.
Yep. So what's your next?
Okay, so we're at
of medicine.
We're at a watershed now because apparently malaria is not eradicated. I don't know if you've been reading the paper, and you're an educated man, and I know you read the paper on a regular basis. And on the West Coast, yeah, well, I read it on my phone, but I still turn the pages. I really do.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Like, you ever heard of such a thing?
A paper?
Yeah,
paper,
newspaper. Hey, I used to deliver them. I'm partial. Apparently, there's been 4 or 5.
What did you say, Blake?
Yeah. So, but I definitely remember the paper because one of my drawings was in the paper.
Yeah, one of your drawings made the record. Yeah.
Okay, well, see, look at that.
So,
I'm back. Oh, so malaria no mushrooms yet. Malaria is been found 4 or 5 people on the West Coast around Sarasota have been diagnosed with malaria, and it's sort of making people a little uncomfortable right now.
Well, when we went to Africa, we had to take some
bunch of shots, yeah.
And then we had to take a horrible medicine that made you worry about how far you were from a bathroom.
I was wondering how you were going to phrase that. I could see that word.
Yeah.
See, and my answer to that is just gin and tonics, man. You got to get the quinine for malaria. So, gin and tonics is a great way to go. But malaria was used by a gentleman to cure paresis.
Okay.
Paresis is a paralyzing part or the end stage of syphilis.
Okay.
So what this doctor figured, because he had, it's in the late 1800s, and he had read some research that somebody had successfully used a fever to treat certain diseases. And what the conjecture is that the high fever would kill the microbes in your system. And apparently the syphilitic microbes are very susceptible to heat. Or a word, something like that, to heat. So they would induce a fever and hope that the fever would get hot enough and knock out the syphilis microbes. And in some cases it worked, and in some places it killed you.
Yeah, but I mean, if you already had syphilis, it was going to kill you anyway, right?
Well, this treatment was used right up until the end of World War II, when they said, "Hey, penicillin works a whole lot easier." Right? Exactly. Yeah, we'll give you the penicillin instead. But that was it. It was the type of thing where either it would kill you or cure you.
So Al Capone should have given himself malaria.
That's exactly right.
Might have had a chance.
He was in Florida. All he had to do was stick his arm out and get bit by a mosquito.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
All right. I kind of dove into a lot of different things and some really crazy stuff. A lot of people, I stayed away from certain things like leaching.
Yeah.
Leaching probably killed more people than it even came close to saving. And we've had some presidents that died because of leaching and some of the things. They were dehydrated, and then they leached them and made them even more dehydrated, and it killed them. I think that's what happened to William Henry Harrison.
Yeah.
So there's some definite documentations about leaching. But this one to me is, I associate this with the Wild West.
Okay.
And that's snake oil.
Yeah.
But snake oil was so common.
Yeah.
And it was in everyone's medicine cabinet in the late 1800s. And everybody had a remedy. And I should have saved this as a feed-in to the sodas.
Okay.
Because a lot of the sodas almost started out as
pharmaceuticals. Yep.
So, but the snake oil, did you do any studying on the snake oil stuff?
It's so pervasive that I didn't bother, because, it's snake oil. I mean, there's nothing to it.
But it was one of the biggest businesses and in the U.S., and people would sell door to door snake oil, and people just bought it, and they would set up stooges, and they'd sell it off the soapbox, which we talked about as that being an origin, and it was just so ridiculous, some of the stuff. And when I see commercials today, I just go, is this just a new version?
Well, they would come up in their buckboard or their wagon. They'd come into town, especially when they were doing it out in the frontier, and they'd come horsing into town. They'd sell their snake oil, and before people would, either drop dead or realize they weren't getting cured, they would leave town and keep going.
Yeah.
Money in hand.
Yeah, no, they'd already be out of town before anybody realized, okay, it's not helping me at all.
Right.
So, all right, what's the next one you got?
Oh, I got some good ones. I have, we talked about the milk transfusions, which are interesting. And that was also to resuscitate dead people in theory. So they'd, it's a lot of up your butt today for whatever reason. Yeah. I'm sorry, but
I don't know why you went there.
I'm not quite sure, but it was interesting because it's one bad medicine practice brokered into another. So they would give you the milk transfusion, and the original conjecture was that, milk is a fatty substance. It's good for you. It was almost like a health food situation because of the ingredients in milk. But it never worked. So then if you got worse, they would try to revive you with a combination of morphine and whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, cut out the milk transfusion, stay out of my
straight
butt, and
there.
go exactly.
Go straight to the
Exactly.
whiskey.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Which I will. Thank you for reminding me. Cheers to your good health. To your good health, sir.
All right. Sticking with the alcohol.
Okay.
All right. During Prohibition. All right.
A dark time in America, but carry on.
A dark time. But there was one liqueur that survived it because it was a digestive. It is considered, and I don't know if you know, the bartender's handshake. You know what that is?
I do not.
A Fernet.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you do a shot of Fernet, that's considered a bartender's handshake. That means that bartender recognizes you as, okay, you understand your liqueurs or you understand your alcohol. And they usually take very good care of you. You buy a shot for them, you buy a shot for yourself, and that's a bartender's handshake. But during Prohibition, Fernet was allowed to be sold, even though it was a liqueur, it was allowed to be sold because it was sold as a digestive.
And I think the Christian Brothers got away with it in California because they made brandy that was also medicinal. And if you were making sacramental wine, you were golden.
Yeah.
Those are the loopholes. But it's interesting because, you know, I'm familiar with Fernet Branca, but there was a point in time where I saw more bottles being drank in St. Augustine than any place else in the world because the ice plant in particular, I used to go to the ice plant a lot. They had a real nice happy hour. They still probably do. Great cocktails, nice place. Should be a sponsor here. We'll take them on, I think, if they would like to join us.
I'll call Trish.
Thank you. But boy, the bar staff there, that was their go-to. They were doing shots of Fernet. Yeah.
I mean, those mixologists, like people that are true mixologist bartenders, that's the drink you buy them if you want good service.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you...
It's either that or throw you 20 down first.
You know, you know you're about to belly up.
Right.
You know you're about to belly up. If you start with Fernet, you're buying them one and you one, that means you're already going to throw down more than 20.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You're settling in.
Yeah.
So that's the bartender's handshake.
That's tough to drink a lot of that and drink something else with it, though.
You just do one.
Yeah.
That's introduction to, and then you go to your regular drink.
But people look at me cross-eyed because I drink Campari. So it's, you know.
Yeah, I don't even understand that.
Yeah, oh, it's delightful. And a Negroni is, I mean, I've said it before. Negronis are just wonderful. Wonderful. It really is, you know.
Yeah, I'm good with Jameson.
Yeah, I know.
I'm good with my Irish whiskey or my bourbon.
Well, I'll stick with the bourbon.
Yeah, so.
Buy American.
Yeah. All right, is it your turn to mine? I just did Fernet. It's you.
Okay. So, Bayer,
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please say that again?
I said,
My Siri just kicked on. Did you hear that?
I did. I heard her.
So
Who said the magic words?
yeah, so we can't say those words.
I don't even remember what they were.
Yeah. So which one do you have next?
Bayer aspirin in medicine cabinets all across America and the world. Big company, big company.
Yeah.
There was a point in time from about 1898 to 1913 where they were making their aspirin with heroin.
Okay.
Heroin, you know.
With heroin.
Yep. Heroin became a medicinal cure for a lot of things. I won't say successfully, but it was introduced into a lot of things as a cure-all. And it was interesting about this. It was marketed toward children.
Yeah.
And, you know, they finally figured out that the kids were craving the aspirin and realized maybe this is not the best thing for children or people in general. And they started to realize that heroin had this overwhelmingly addictive ability. And they started working away from heroin. But that was, you know, again, like, and you're going to broker into cocaine.
Yeah.
So it was amazing how these things would be mainstream for a while and quite some time, actually. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. Before we get to the cocaine one, I'm gonna do this one here, and I found this extremely entertaining.
Okay.
Hysteria.
Yeah. Are you plugging in? Are you? Literally and figuratively. Oh my God, I'm going to hell.
The person who came up with the vibrator was a lazy doctor who was already a creepy doctor.
Yes.
Because hysteria was a condition that somehow only wealthy women had.
Right.
And the men doctors would manipulate and relax them by giving them orgasms.
Mm-hmm. These women were no fools.
No.
Apparently they weren't being satisfied at home, and
they got their husbands to pay for it.
There you go.
And it was a legitimate business.
Mm-hmm.
There were doctors that focused on releasing women's hysteria.
Mm-hmm.
And that was around for like 40 years. But that is where the vibrator was created by one of these doctors because I guess his hand got tired.
He got cramps.
And in case you're not catching on to what I'm saying, they would manipulate the women to orgasm with their hands to relieve their stress level.
Hey, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
And these guys did, apparently, for quite some time.
Yep. So you got one more?
I do.
And then I'll finish with.
It's interesting because, I'm going to save lobotomies for another day because I'll talk to you about putting that into something else because I found some interesting things, frightening things by the same token. But xenotransplantation. Now you start seeing ads for low T and, you're not manly enough. You have low T, your testosterone is just, well, there was a guy who was, do I have a date on this?
Say the word again. Xenotransplantation.
Xenotransplantation, which is from animal to human.
Okay.
Okay. And what this guy did was he would take the interstitial gland. And apparently there's a bunch of different interstitial glands, but he would take a gland out of a monkey or a chimpanzee and transplant it into a man. And he did this in an 80-year-old man who was just lethargic. He had no pep. Apparently he had low T. And after he recovered from the surgery about 3 months later, this guy was acting like a 30-year-old. Vim and vigor and life was good.
Yeah.
And he would graft the monkey's gland into the subject. And that was it until they said, yeah, this ain't so good. And we're going to start outlawing this process. But apparently, they were trying to do that. And,
What years were these?
This was, let's see, because I started with that one. Nope, that's seltzer. That was
great for the webcam right now.
You can't see me? I'm not here. You can't see me.
Are you looking at the monitor, Blake?
Am I looking at the monitor, Blake?
You're obviously not looking at the monitor.
I'm not even looking over my glasses.
We're not on radio, right, Lenny?
No, but I have a face. I have a face for radio, apparently.
So what year?
Here you go.
Give me a time frame.
There you go. This was in the 1910. The guy started in the Rockefeller Institute.
Okay.
And then moved to France. And started doing it in France. So it was the early 1900s when he was doing this. So he got more
freedom in France with their restrictions.
And he was trying to correct the future of humanity in prolonging mental power and physical vigor in useful fulfillment.
There you go.
So he was trying to make it better people. The interesting thing is this gland creates strychnine. And apparently, I've always been under the impression that strychnine is like rat poison.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you got to look for when somebody,
everything in doses.
Yep. Well, that's true too. But that's always, that's the bag of rat poison when the guy drops dead and, the wife was supposed to be innocent, not so much. Yeah. So.
All right. My last one.
Go ahead.
Still a drug that's around today, just not legal. But it was very common. It was sold in Sears and Roebuck catalog.
Right.
Cocaine.
People still do that?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Oof.
I heard about it.
Man.
And as much as, and I know people are going to be shocked, I've never tried it.
Okay.
I know people that are very happy with their habit.
Okay.
But you end up broke. But cocaine was used in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It was used as a tablet form, sold in Sears and Roebuck, and it was used for the gums of teething babies.
Right. And still you'll find cocaine users will rub it on their gums just for the freeze.
Yeah.
Or so I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Right.
But I mean, it's still something out there. which leads us to our next topic, and we're going to do an ad break real quick. But cocaine was the main ingredient to start the largest soda company in the world. So, and it was an ingredient for a long time.
Just one cautionary tale and side note on cocaine. A Cleveland Brown defensive back by the name of Don Rogers and a promising basketball player by the name of Len Bias.
Yeah.
Man, 19 years old. Yep. And both of those were attributed to cocaine. Yeah. And if I ever needed a reason to not do cocaine, short, not in the peak of health. I mean, I'm healthy, but I'm not a physical specimen. Well, I could be. Hi there.
Yeah.
Hi, dear.
Yeah.
No, right. Well, I'm not Len Bias. I'm not Don Rogers. I'm not a professional athlete.
You don't get confused for Adonis.
No.
Yeah.
Though I'm working on it. We'll see.
Yeah. There you go.
I got a goal. Survival. But when these gentlemen would drop dead, athletes in peak physical condition, and cocaine was the contributing factor in their demise, that should be enough right there to tell people, just don't do it, man. Go Nancy Reagan.
Did you see how it originally first started becoming an active ingredient in medicine?
No.
For eye surgeries.
Right. They could numb it.
It would numb it, and it would hold the eye in a very still, so it had less bleeding, and they would actually hold their eye still. And they would put the liquid form of cocaine directly in their eyes to freeze up their eye. So, and that's where, and then that whole procedure led to everything else. What is it? Nobel Peace Prize?
Right. Chemistry or peace?
Well, the Nobel Peace Prize is named after Nobel.
Oh, Alfred Nobel.
Alfred Nobel, who created
dynamite. Right.
Never intending it to be a weapon.
That's your unintended consequences.
And that's how he came up with the Nobel Peace Prize, is he intended it for good.
Right.
And it turned to evil.
Oh, I didn't know that was the genesis for the Peace Prize, is his trying to make some retribution for the fact that he invented dynamite.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He just never, when he came up with it more for mining and those type of situations.
Yeah, construction.
He never, in his thought process, had it as a weapon.
Right, well.
And then obviously the evil minds took that to a much darker place. All right, talking about people that are wonderful people, not evil. No,
we're out of the dark
our
places.
Sponsors, our sponsors, Coquina Coast Realty. You got commercial, you got residential. You want to sell, you want to buy. Work on 1031 exchanges. Give these guys a call. Actually, give this guy a call. 904-669-7901. Meehan's Irish Pub. I'm going to tell you right now, this is what a pub's supposed to look like. Reggie and the crew over there, they do an amazing job. Stop in, say hi, tell them that Bollox sent you over there. If Reggie's there, make sure you give him a hard time.
And try the Irish cream.
Try the Irish cream. All right, River and Fort, just do an amazing job. They took care of that corner, brought it back to life, and I'm telling you right now, just happy there in St. Augustine.
I'm excited for their next project. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going on there. It's
a quality restaurant. It's one I always recommend. People ask me, where should I go? Go to River and Fort. St. Augustine Pirate Museum. They have over 800 original artifacts. It came to us from Key West. The Croce family brought it to us. Appreciate them being here. And I'm telling you right now, if you haven't been, you need to take the time and go into the Pirate Museum, and you're going to learn. If you like to learn, if you don't like to learn, go in there. You're still going to enjoy it.
Right.
All right. St. Augustine Distillery and City Gates. City Gates Spirits. It's our whiskey of the week. Is the cinnamon whiskey. Yum whiskey for sure. There's a lot of different things that they have. They have the maple. They have just some peanut butter. Just some great flavors you would never expect in a whiskey.
They even have a legit moonshine.
Oh, solid moonshine.
They got a moonshine. That's overproof. Yeah. That's the big one there.
Solid moonshine. Make sure you're drinking water with that. Abare, Kresge and Associates, best CPAs in town. These guys know what they're doing. They're professionals. You think you save money by doing your own taxes. You're wrong. You're missing something, and you're losing money Go see these guys. Take care of that. Cheshire Customs and Collision. Check these guys out. They have the best paint booth in town.
And they do towing, you told me.
Yeah, they
do towing,
Cheshire
just in case.
Towing
Yeah.
is also there. Helped us out last week. Really
Right.
helped us out. I had a situation with a friend of mine. I called up Chris. They were there in 30 minutes and took care of the situation. But they have the state-of-the-art paint, and they paint your car in a wind-free booth, and then they take it and they just push it right in to the bake shop.
Right.
So they just bake it right there. So they paint and bake all in the same location. Just do an amazing job, Cheshire Customs and Collisions. Guess what? It's time to talk about cocaine. No, Coca-Cola.
Running around my brain?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Clapton.
Cocaine. But Coca-Cola, the original Coca-Cola, started with cocaine. How we got to this topic, we were going to start with the soda wars and talk about Pepsi and Coke. I didn't do either one of them.
Right. Too many.
Did you do either one of them?
No.
Okay.
You know, and there's still, we can do days on this because just regional soft drinks, there's so many regional soft drinks. But if you, have you been to the Coke tour in Atlanta?
No, I have not been there.
So it's in Centennial Park.
It's right off 75, and I've driven past it several times.
Yeah, it's right in Centennial Park where they had the Olympics. There's a big Coke presence there, obviously in Atlanta, but there's a wonderful tour in there, and it's great. And they even have, theoretically, the safe that has their secret recipe in it.
Yes.
I tried to, Willie Sutton my way in there, but I didn't quite get there. But at the end of the tour, there's a gift shop because every tour ends in a gift shop these days. There were banks and banks and banks of soda dispensers with every Coke product they had around the world. And there were hundreds of them. So when you start getting into international flavors, let alone regional flavors, your mind would go poof from some of the flavors that they were offering there from some of the other countries. It was fat, and you could taste them all. And some of them were really not good.
Not good.
Not good.
Yeah. Blake really likes the natural sugar that they sell, the Mexican.
Yeah, the Mexican sodas. The Mexican sodas. Mexican Coca-Cola.
The Mexican sodas were definitely better than because that was the original formula, I believe.
With sugar.
Well, it's not the original formula, which had
Right.
cocaine in it, but
Right.
it's much closer to it.
Right. They were using real sugar as opposed to artificial sweeteners, which is interesting because curse you, Coca-Cola, canceling my tab.
Because Diet Coke took over.
And apparently, and I didn't pursue it too much, but I saw someplace where Diet Coke, and this makes absolutely no sense at all. That's why the internet is a little bit, wonky. The least popular soda, and that makes no sense because all you hear out of people's mouths is Diet Coke, Diet Coke, Diet Coke, Diet Coke with lemon, Diet Coke with lemon, because I'm from Long Island.
Yeah.
And you can't have your Diet Coke without a lemon on Long Island.
Yeah, but speaking about sodas right now, so apparently today the World Health Organization is going to say aspartame, a common ingredient in diet sodas, as a carcinogen.
See?
Yeah.
Bring back Tab because you know what? Saccharin isn't. And for a while, Tab was sweetened with cyclamate and saccharin.
Tab, you're tasting like 45 minutes later.
I like Tab. What can I tell you? And no, you can't have my can.
You continue to taste it? Is that, I
got no problem with that.
Finished with the drink. I want to be finished with the drink.
Well, it's the taste that lingers on.
Yeah.
As opposed to the melody.
So let's talk about Tab.
Okay.
Tab was the first diet drink or diet soda, right?
Yes. From the Coca-Cola people.
Was there a diet?
Diet Right was before.
Diet Right, RC Cola.
Yeah. Diet Right from RC Cola was 1962. Tab was 1963.
Were you an RC Cola and a Moon Pie guy?
I'm from the North, man. Moon pies just came into my life lately. But I was a scooter pie. Can you say scooter pie?
No wonder you New Yorkers are so angry.
Well, yeah, scooter pies are the same thing. They just called them scooter as opposed to moon.
What the hell's a scooter pie?
A moon pie.
Then why don't you just call it a moon pie?
Because it's a scooter pie.
What's a scooter pie?
A moon pie. It's
it's
a brand. Absolutely.
Moon pie.
A scooter pie is the same thing, except from a different company.
It's like you guys telling me a White Castle is the same as a Crystal. It's not.
No, it's not.
No, White Castle's so much better.
Crystal's the one.
I mean, they are
Crystal
steam
wings are good.
grilled wonder.
The Crystal's wings were good though.
What was that?
The Crystal's wings were good.
Crystal's wings were solid.
Okay.
Not as good as the ones I made the other night.
And by the way,
yeah,
White
no.
Castle is one of the oldest fast foods around.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, so Tab, they discontinued Tab in 2020. You know, I think it was, you know, when product lines were tough to do because of staffing through COVID, a lot of industries cut down on their volume of products and they truncated everything and they did, you know, more of fewer instead of less of more, if that makes any sense to anybody listening. Hi, how are you?
yeah.
But it was interesting because, you know, saccharin got a bad rap for a while because some Canadian lab did a study that saccharin caused liver cancer in Canadian lab rats. Canadian lab rats, not American lab
Yeah,
rats,
no,
mind
no.
you.
Well, they're softer.
Well, it is. They're Canadian. They're apologetic about everything.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where finally, you know, saccharin is now back in the good graces of the world. Because in 2000 they took it off of the you know, you can't use it list, and in 2010 they finally came out and said no, saccharin doesn't cause any cancers. There's no problem with it whatsoever. Go have a nice day. And I grew up in a house where saccharin was used in tablets because it was the first artificial sweetener was saccharin. And you know, there's a little teeny tablets of saccharin that you would put in your Sanka, which is something that ask people what Sanka is today, and they'll look at you like I'm a crazy person.
It was some type of coffee.
It was decaf.
Decaf.
It was a little freeze dried orange packet of decaf coffee. Sanka was, you know, you ask people what Sanka is, you know, you'll know how old they are if they know what it is.
Yeah.
But okay, so Coca-Cola.
All right, Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola is preceded by 1 year by Dr.
By the doctor.
By Dr. Pepper.
Waco, Texas.
All right. He was actually born in Brooklyn.
Mr. Dr. Pepper here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alderton. Charles Alderton. And he was a pharmacist at Morrison's Old Corner Drugstore in Waco, Texas. All right. So Dr. Pepper was originally called a Waco.
Really?
All right. And then it ended up being changed to Dr. Pepper with its 23. Another formula that's locked under safe and key. All right. And
Which
I'm a
is
big
interesting
Dr.
because
Pepper guy.
me and you both, I'm a big fan. You know, it's interesting because we're doing the cinnamon whiskey today from City Gates. And a lot of these, you know, I've got a Mr. Pibb here, Dr. Pepper. A lot of these, you know, they're cherry-esque, but they're also, you know, some people think that the spice comes from the cinnamon.
Yeah.
So it's an ingredient in, you know, Mr. Pibb and Dr. Pepper, I would presume.
All right. So Charles Alderton was the originator of the Dr. Pepper. He was a pharmacist. And it was another one that was created to give a boost. It was for vitality. It was to give you energy. So before there was Red Bull, which I have one sitting over here, before there was Red Bull, Dr. Pepper was used in that same to give you vigor. And it was advertised as liquid sunshine.
Interesting. Well, that's how I did stay awake during college to study was a lot of Coca-Cola. A lot of Coca-Cola.
All right. And I found this interesting. It was not nationally sold until 1904. Started in 1885. So 20 or 19 years later. And it was at the Louisiana Purchase Exhibition, the 100-year of Louisiana Purchase. At that exhibition is when it went nationally recognized.
And it's still one of my favorite sodas today. And apparently you can't do college football without it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they give away a lot of money for it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We got a lot more to get through. What's your next soda?
Cheer wine.
Cheer wine?
Cheer wine.
Similar
CHEE.
to Dr. Pepper, right?
Except this is, it's cherry based, but it's overcarbonated.
Okay.
And it was started in 1917 and is still run and owned by the same family that started it in 1917. It's one family and family owned since 1917. So over 100 years for Cheer wine. Yeah.
Wow.
And
family. It's like Tabasco.
There you go.
They're still
The
the
McElhaney's,
same
yeah.
family.
Yeah, and then I get a kick out of the fact because it's got wine in the name, and it's because it was such a deep dark burgundy color. I believe that's how they sort of went into doing it that way. But
and my next two are sodas that I actually drink. I don't drink a lot of sodas, and I don't even know if I can consider this a soda because it started off more as a syrup, and a lot of people don't realize root beer.
yeah, it was. By the way, Hires root beer was earlier than Coke and Dr Pepper.
Yeah, but it started as a syrup back in the early 1800s before Hires came in I think 1882. It was early 1880s.
You know what? I got it.
But it was back in the early 1800s, the sarsaparilla, which is the root that it's used. It's actually used from a vine or a root.
Hires was 1876, sir.
1876.
Also with Moxie.
Okay. Moxie was the same.
Moxie was 1876 too. That's why I said regional sodas, man. It's the
But
way. It's the way.
I love me a good root beer. So are you a root beer person?
I am. How about birch beer?
Birch beer? I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
IBC.
Same idea. A little sarsaparilla. Yeah.
Yeah, sarsaparilla. Blake, what's your root beer go-to?
Well, but before I stopped drinking sodas, I was probably say like the Boylan's root beer.
Borland's okay.
Okay. All right. That's solid.
What about A&W, brokered it into the mainstream with their drive-thrus and their Mama Burger and their Papa Burger.
Yeah, but so probably say Boylan's first, or Barks second, and A&W third.
Barks, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Barks, that's good. Those are good. Those are good products. Those are good products.
Yeah. But
I'm trying to think. There's
root beer has some really great and it's another one that started off as
Mugs
a
are worse,
digestive.
yeah.
What was
Mugs,
that?
Mugs is the worst in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we're not drinking that one.
Yeah. We're going to stay away from that.
But again,
guess
and
who's not going to be a sponsor?
well, too bad. They're missing out on our fan base.
But I
Those
don't
silly
think a
people.
lot of people realize the name root beer actually comes from that.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that, we're talking about, Dr. Pepper with 23 ingredients. Root beer is made literally from roots and, it's from a tree,
And Dr. Pepper was created by an actual pharmacist and doctor.
which is, when we think of soda fountains and you think of, soda jerks and soda fountains, they were all in pharmacies.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the soda counter was in your drugstore.
Drugstore. Yep.
Yep. So they didn't have to go far.
Yeah. So, but to me, root beer, I look at root beer as the grandfather of sodas.
Okay. Hey, look, you pour root beer and you get a good creamy head on that. It's a nice
I
thing.
think a lot of people put it as Coca-Cola, but I look at root beer
Hires-
as the grandfather of the
and
other
Hires beat them by a couple of years, so they have the right to
by a
that.
decade.
Now, how do you feel about egg creams?
What?
Man, oh man.
What's an egg cream? What the hell? You said egg cream?
An egg cream. EGGCREAM. Oh my goodness. I got to bring you to Brooklyn, my brother.
I don't know what an egg cream is.
An egg cream is seltzer, and it should be chocolate syrup, but Fox's You Bet chocolate syrup, seltzer, spoon, stir, and it's delightful. You have.
So Blake and I are going to New York City in August.
Okay.
So I need you to come up with at least one good spot for us to go try an egg cream.
I will
Blake,
find
are you
you
willing
some.
to try an egg cream?
Egg cream.
An egg cream.
Egg cream.
It's fizzy chocolate milk without the milk.
Okay, it's chocolate. Then no, I'm not. I'm saying no.
He doesn't do chocolate.
All right. Well,
You ruined it for me right there.
but that's it.
I'll try it out.
A seltzer's a 2 cents plain.
You know what team we're going to see?
Well, I hope it's the Mets.
We are.
Okay, I feel good.
Yeah. We are.
They may not win for you because they can't win for anybody, including themselves.
Well, they're playing the Angels, and I really want to see it.
Oh, Sean. Oh, man. The man is just a treasure. Oh, my goodness. Oh,
He's incredible.
we were talking, we were watching
They have the
Blurbs.
two best players in Major League Baseball on the same team, and they still can't win.
But you start look at Ohtani's numbers. Look at him as a pitcher and as a hitter.
Yeah.
The man is phenomenal. Now, how long can he keep this up? I don't know, and I don't care because right now the things he's doing are miraculous.
You do his team stats.
Mm-hmm.
He's leading his team in every single offensive category and he's leading his team in every single pitching category. Never in my life have I seen that.
Yep. And he's 11 stolen bases, no less.
So he's a beast.
And he's having fun, I'd like to believe. And I would think that if there's any way possible, they're not going to let him leave the Angels.
Yeah.
You know, where else can he go? I mean, what? Go across town to the Dodgers? Why? Well, because they got a lot of money. Exactly.
But he might be worrying.
He doesn't have the say so over his dollar all the time.
No.
Yeah, but wouldn't be surprised if Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, decides to pony up some.
Yeah,
I think he's a little snake bit. I mean, you know, Otani's much younger and you know, has a resume to go either way between an offensive player or a pitcher. But I think Steve Cohen's thinking twice about all the money he spent. Well, Scherzer's pitching tonight, so let's see what happens. Yeah, but be that as it may.
We're hoping.
Yeah,
we get to catch one of those guys.
Can you imagine an Ohtani Scherzer or an Ohtani Verlander?
And we've already picked which day we're going because we're going to New York and then we're taking a train to Boston for the Red Sox Dodgers game the next day.
Nice.
So we got the Mets Angels, and then we take a train to from New York to Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're checking out Fenway.
It's a great ballpark. Have you been there?
I have not.
Okay, it's a great ballpark.
It's one of those that we're trying to hit as many stadiums as we can.
Oh, good.
And we're hitting 2 this year, so we're excited about that.
And Citi Field's a nice ballpark. It really is.
All right. My last one.
Go ahead.
I drink Jameson and ginger, so I wanted to find out a little bit more about ginger.
Okay.
I didn't really realize that there's 2 different types of ginger ales. There's a dry ginger and there's a golden ginger. All right? So the golden ginger was created in Ireland. All right? And the golden ginger was created, the first ginger ale was in Belfast, Ireland in the 1850s.
Of the golden ginger.
The golden ginger.
Okay, because,
The dry ginger was created in Canada and didn't come around until 1904.
I got some disputing information here, my friend.
What is your disputing information?
The oldest soft drink soda in the United States is Vernors Ginger Ale.
Okay.
And that was in 1866, and it's still available today.
All right.
And that was from Michigan.
So Vernors.
No, maybe Dr. Brown was from Michigan. But Vernors Ginger Ale, yeah.
Yeah. Vernors is a golden. So that would have been fine.
Okay. If you like
that timeline would have worked. And one of my very first thing, and I was fortunate when I was younger. I played a lot of softball all over the country and stuff like that. One of my national championships was Vernors is out of Jacksonville.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I played for Vernors for 2 years. We won national championship 2 years in a row. We're talking early 90s.
So in the locker room celebration, it was ginger ale, not champagne.
There wasn't locker rooms. It was softball.
Come on. Where's the love?
It was dugouts and strippers. All right. So.
Well, all right.
And Vernors was always in the cooler. But it was one of my very first softball experiences. And I played for Vernors, and I didn't realize how old it was until I started reading this history.
1866, brother.
So, and Thomas Joseph Cantrell, an Irish surgeon, manufactured the first ginger ale in Ireland in 1850s. It was a fermented ginger ale, dark colored, generally sweet to taste with strong ginger spice flavor.
Somebody was screwing around with soda, left for the Civil War, apparently, left a cask of it someplace, came back, and it was delightful when he got back. But I think his wife disputed that story and said, you made that up, hon.
Yeah. So, but...
Okay. Now, you like ginger ale?
I like ginger ale with Jameson.
Okay. I
don't drink ginger ale unless my stomach's feeling a little...
Right. Well, then this one isn't the one to try. But there's... And I think it's Schweppes. It might be Schweppes. Yeah. Makes a bold, strong and bold ginger ale. Yeah. That is some serious stuff, man.
Okay.
That'll cure what ails you and certainly open up your sinuses. I promise you that. I have a friend of mine who likes brown mumblers, as he says. It's a little Jim Beam and the bold ginger ale, and 2 of them, and he starts to mumble.
All right. And the dry style
Okay.
was created in Canada by a gentleman by the name of John McLaughlin.
Okay. Is this where Canada Dry comes from?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what it is.
Okay, because it's Canada Dry ginger ale. Yeah,
It's a dry
that makes
ginger ale.
sense. Good.
But
Okay,
see,
that makes sense.
Verner's is a golden
Okay.
ginger ale.
Okay.
And I'm assuming Canada's dry.
Right. You know, it's funny because we talk about stuff, and then all of a sudden you start to make the association because you always think of Canada Dry. And I guess people don't use all the words. It's just Canada Dry, and it's Canada Dry ginger ale.
Yep.
So there you go.
So
Thank you.
It makes sense, and it's considered the dry style is a paler drink with a much milder ginger flavor. So I didn't know there was two different types. I just thought ginger ale was ginger, and I knew the flavors changed quite a bit.
Okay.
But I didn't know that was it. Guess what? That's the end of our show.
I know it goes too fast. It
Yep.
goes too fast.
I want to say thank you to you guys. Hopefully, we learned a little bit, laughed a little bit with us. Check out some of the stuff we're doing. Go down that dive with us. Help us out. If you have some topics you want us to talk about, shoot me a message and just reach out to us. This is Bollox Talks and Tangents, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a groovy.